A Heat episode?
Yeah, it's gonna be a
What?
Heat episode.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
It's gonna be a Heat episode. But brothers, sisters, gender resistors, welcome once again, one and all, to one of many shows on Planet Goddamn Earth, where we review anything and everything that's on Joey's fucking so stupid arbitrary list of comic book paraphernalias.
Just wait, it's about to get better.
Yeah, I have changed the list. I guess
true.
I'll announce it now. We're going to be covering the other for a while.
Yeah.
I've added some stuff to it, and I found some more interesting things. So we're going to have some interesting stuff coming up soon.
I think this will be a nice little end of summer into like fall run here.
That sounds it might nice. Be from summer to summer, but we'll see.
Or summer
we
to
got
summer,
a lot.
Whatever.
We got a lot of catching up to do in the other section.
Yeah, I showed him the list, and it's like, whew.
I'm pretty excited about it because I'm getting I was getting a little DC Marvel burnout. That's so fair. It'll be nice to kind of watch some other stuff.
Well, and especially since we are for Marvel, we're right
on the cusp of
MCU. Right. We've got like a handful of movies before we get to that, but we are literally on the cusp for the DCU. And so it's good to take a break, step away from all those, because those are movies that we've all seen, especially the MCU, multiple times.
Correct.
Whereas this movie, The Crow from 1994, is a movie I've only watched one time for this recording.
I've seen it multiple times.
Okay. And then
could I just real quick? Can I just get this out and then we can move on with the rest of the show?
Okay, sure.
I'd like to speak to one very specific group of the demographic. Dear big titty goth girls, is this actually your favorite movie? Is it really your favorite movie? Or were you told that it was your favorite movie because when you were 16, the 24-year-old drug dealer who was giving you shit weed was like telling you that it was a good movie while you were blowing him? I'm just curious. I'm just overall wondering, did you actually like this movie? Did you think it was good? Or did you just want the free weed?
It's a very good
question. This is how I know that Chuck and I didn't know the same big titty goth girls. Because
he's New York big
city that's goth fair.
Girls.
Yeah,
we're Midwest big city goth girls.
Fair.
So
he's got the big titty goth girls.
There you go.
Yeah. This movie is, objectively speaking, is an okay movie. It's perfectly fine. It's a product of its time, and we'll get into that. The fandom made me fucking hate this movie.
Sure.
Because it did not live up to all the bullshit that I've been hearing for like God knows how long. First off, right off the bat, not a horror movie. Not a horror movie.
Is this supposed to be a horror movie?
This is always classified and fallen under horror.
Really?
I remember.
I was like, because I know that at the video store that I always rented, the one that I rented it from when I first saw it, it was in the action section.
So I always assume that too. I remember it being in my horror section because I remember seeing like the cover of it.
Oh, no. See, it was supposed to be in the horror section, not the horror section.
Oh, that makes sense. Because it was always right next. I don't know why, but I think the movie was called like Rainbow Serpent or something. And it was like a girl, and she was like in a because the section was like cult
not alphabetized apparently.
No. It was like cult classics horror section, and I think it was called like Rainbow Serpent or something like that. And it was like a woman, and she was like in a coffin.
Serpent in the Rainbow.
Yeah, Serpent in the Rainbow. That's what it was called. Yeah, that's a fucked up movie.
Yeah, it looks fucked up.
Yeah,
maybe it was a
like don't kill me, I'm just a
plastic flash horror section.
Bill Pullman's in that movie. Holy crap! Okay.
Yeah, it's a real fucked up movie. I remember. I think I did rent it one time, and I don't remember.
Based on a true story. Yeah, loosely based on a non-fiction book of the same. What the? Okay, sure. Why not?
But anyway, so this always gets grouped into like horror stuff. Not a horror movie. It doesn't fit any of the tropes that it needs to be classified as a horror movie. Much like Alien 2, which we may get to at some point.
It's on the list now.
Alien 2, not a horror movie, but
Alien 1 is.
Alien 1 is, absolutely. Alien 2 is not. Crow is not. I get that it's ooky spooky.
Google classifies Crow as action fantasy.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
So
okay, maybe action, but I don't see it as fantasy. I guess maybe.
Know a lot of people that get brought back to life when the Crow brings their soul back?
I don't know. Any of the shit that happens in the Expendables? Something naturally Fast and Furious? Then it's all.
I'm pretty sure that Fast and Furious still falls into fantasy.
Yeah, thank you. That's.
I was gonna say something else, but okay.
Family.
Yeah.
That's the real magic. Is
you know why they don't do reverse cowgirl in Alabama?
Why?
Because you don't turn your back on family.
I knew that joke. Too.
Yep. Oh, I know. I just wanted to say it.
Yeah. I don't know why we didn't stop him, but
because
you can't stop me. Joey can.
Actually,
you can. Yeah, as I said, Joey can. But
Joey
you
actually is the only one who has the power to shut you up.
Eventually I might give you both that ability, but
no, don't do that. That's too much power
a bad
for us.
idea. You know that's a bad idea. Because eventually we'll just kick Joey out. It's just Ron and I screaming at each other.
Especially when we get to like the Snyder cuts, be like, hold on a second, just boop Joey out of the chat.
Man,
every time we want to say something mean, we boop Joey out.
All right, so let's talk about this movie.
Okay.
I really enjoyed this movie. Yeah, I did.
I like it too.
Back in the day, like Chuck said, like you said, this was a movie that people kind of like congregated to and was like fawning over, saying like this is the best gothic-ish movie ever.
But a lot of that also stems from the fact that Brandon Lee died. You know,
right there. Yeah, I think the everything around it is what kind of gave that
it really cemented it in place as a cult classic.
Which apparently, and I was looking through IMDb, and I'll have to look through it again to try and find it. But there was a bunch of different like problems with this like film behind the scenes. I'll look for it real quick, and I'll bring it up. But
yeah, this movie was like almost cursed. They were saying at one point, like it was a miracle that it actually made it out because there was like so many issues and Brandon Lee dying and stuff. Yeah. It's a perfectly fine movie, I think. This is the second time I've watched this because I watched it one time during lockdown because I was like, you know what? I just want something to watch. I'm getting bored. I've never seen The Crow. I have like all these all emo girls that I knew always just talked about how fucking great this movie was. They were
maybe they just found Brandon Lee really sexy.
Yeah, 100%. That was probably it. I could see it like they always compared it to like it's like how I loved The Watchmen when it first came out was how they felt about this when they first watched it.
Okay.
Which was like I was like a really big fan of The Watchmen and I really liked that movie and I liked all of the like stuff that a lot of people didn't fucking get, you know what I mean, from the movie because I also knew a lot of the background from the comic and stuff. But I watched this and I was just like, it's fine. I don't get it. I don't see it, but I also watched it as an adult. I did not watch it when I was younger.
Well, same. Like,
yeah. But I think I would have been a bigger fan if I watched this when I was a kid.
Sure.
Very specifically because this is not my Crow. My Crow is a wrestler named Sting in WCW who was mourning the death of WCW when the NWO came in. He literally is the Crow. That's the whole fucking like thing. And for like a year, they do this big long build and story to the end match between Hollywood Hulk Hogan and Sting at Starrcade. But he was like rappelling from the ceiling and he had the same face paint. He wore all black and he had a baseball bat and it was fucking rad. And then I watched this and like famously Razor Ramon was like, hey, yo, Sting, you ever see The Crow? You should do that. That's literally how it all fucking started.
Okay.
And so like, that was my Crow. You know what I mean? Like, is that so
sure.
Like there was cooler shit that I saw in wrestling that I wish was in this movie, which is like pretty pathetic. But
we've got 2 sequels that maybe
not
have
great.
some of that.
Not
I've never
loving
seen either one of them.
Well, okay, so we'll watch it here on the show, but also the whole reason why we're doing this episode now is because at time of release, the new Crow remake with Bill Skarsgård is going to be released in like 2 weeks. So I'm kind of looking forward to. I'm actually looking forward to that because I like Bill Skarsgård.
I just recently watched Boy Kills World. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend it.
I wanted to go see that in theaters, and I never got a chance to. So I might
not what I was expecting it to be, but it was like 1,000 times better than what I thought it was.
Good.
So
awesome.
Yeah, I just watched it. It was really good.
All right, so I did find all of the behind the scenes bad things going on. It says here that there were several accidents that befell the production crew. Carpenter suffered serious burns on his upper body during the first day of filming. A manual worker had a screwdriver get embedded in his hand. An equipment truck burst into flames. A stuntman broke several ribs after falling through a roof. A rigger was horribly electrocuted. A disgruntled set sculptor went berserk and drove his car through the props room, destroying it. And a hurricane destroyed several of the sets, along with, obviously, Brandon Lee being killed on set. Yeah.
How did this movie get released?
It wasn't going to. Like, it was actually to a point where I think it was Paramount who originally had the rights. They were once Brandon Lee was shot and killed. They were like, they didn't want to complete the movie. They're like, this is terrible. So they actually sold the rights to another company, I think Miramax. And Miramax went in, they digitally finished the movie, and they submitted it. They had to submit it a few different times, I guess, because they kept getting an NC-17 rating. So they had to admit it like 5 times.
Now I kind of want to see what the original cut is.
We're never gonna get that cut. Sorry.
Release the Snyder cut of Crow.
It would be the who was the director? Alex Proyas.
Do you realize how fucking weird this would have been if in like 07, 06 Snyder was able to release a Crow? Wow, that would have been fucking weird. It would have been like Sin City. He didn't do the Spirit, but the Spirit, and then like he also didn't do Sin City. But regardless, I still always think he does Sin City. It was Rodriguez, I realized, but
yes,
that would have been fucking weird. 300. He did 300.
He did 300, which we'll watch at some point because it's a comic. So.
It's still my favorite. It's still really good. It's the only thing I ever liked.
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
I haven't watched it in a really long time.
Yeah.
Joey, one time we went we went to Jalloween as Spartans, and Joey shaved abs into his stomach hair. And dude, if you were more than 10 feet away from him, he looked fucking ripped. It was awesome.
Yeah. It was wonderful.
All right.
Like he did a really good job of shaving the ab detail into his stomach hair.
It's on my Facebook page somewhere.
Weird. All right.
It's on my MySpace.
So
at the beginning of the movie, when we come into the city that's burning, like the actual look of it was really bad, but I also really liked it. Like the bird's eye view swooping down into the burning city, where it was just like the like generic with the fake fire in it. But for some reason, I really liked how it was done.
Yeah, I'll definitely say that the CGI in this one, I don't think they used a ton.
I assume that was all practical.
50-50. Well, most of the crow like flying was CG. But I thought
the opening scene. Oh, I thought that was all I thought that was like a scale model.
CG.
Oh, I thought it was scale model.
I mean, it could be. I just
figured they had a really shitty camera.
That's possible.
That might have been what it was. I just thought that it was CG fire, which is why it looked like the fire wasn't real.
But I do know at the end of the movie when they're in the church that the crow, which actually I should say all the crows were actually ravens in the movie.
Yeah, because they're bigger and they're easier to see.
Yeah, the crow at the very end flying through the church, that was all CG because I'm watching it and as it gets toward like the end to like right here in the screen, it just disappears. It doesn't actually fly into the darkness.
That's because it's a magical crow, Joey. Jesus.
Yeah, come on,
not
Joey.
actually.
Don't you know that demon crows are the biggest kind of crow, Joey? They can just vanish.
Something else that was really impressive, though, is how dirty they were able to make everything look.
That's just Detroit.
Oh, okay.
So, that's the funny thing. I thought this was, I'll be honest, I thought this was Chicago when we first popped in there. Because they didn't say Detroit. I didn't think they said Detroit until later on. So the entire time I'm thinking it's Chicago.
Yeah, I don't remember the book ever actually giving a location.
I don't think it did.
Yeah, I think
I could be wrong on that one. Though. I never read the book. Like,
but this would have been a. Yeah, I don't remember a ton of it. But
well, look, Chuck, if it didn't happen in the movie, I don't have to go and read a book to get all the details. Okay,
you are absolutely correct. I just don't remember them ever.
Comic book though.
I just don't ever remember. Speaking of the comic, so I have read the comic.
Mm-hmm.
Ron, have you ever read it?
I have not.
So my biggest gripe with this and kind of ties into like the beginning of the movie. Also not a huge fan of the book. I'll say that much right now. And I'm very much not one of those people who wants to watch the thing that he already read. And this does defer a lot away from the book. They change a lot. The aesthetic is like definitely different. Like the book is the aesthetic of goth in the 80s, and this is very much goth of the 90s, if that makes sense. So like it's very different. Yeah. Also, he's not nearly shirtless enough in this movie as compared to what he is in the comic. He's
well, that's because it was too fucking cold, man. Oh.
Well, it is Detroit. But the biggest thing and like kind of what pulled me out of it was all the storytelling of like him being in love is kind of just done at the beginning. Like when it all first kind of happens and like they build this like relationship and you see that and like you see the reason why he cares and why he's come back and all that stuff. And in the comic, that is stretched out through the entire book. There's these like really long like monologues that he does where he's just talking about like, here's this moment in time where we spent together and I knew that I was building my love for her more and more and more and more. And this was a really special moment that I have. And now I'm going to make you see that and I'm going to make you pay for it kind of thing. And that's kind of what each chapter of the book does. And I don't feel like this movie really captured that. And I get it because the book is dense. It is so dense with like just him. It's like pages of just like words interspersed in like with around a lot. Yeah, it's really heavy and dense. And it's very kind of edgelordy in that way. And this also felt edgelordy, but in a different way. But just like, it doesn't capture the magic, but I get why they made that choice. Because I don't think I would want to watch that. I don't want to watch a dude stand there and just say a bunch of shit without then doing something about it. You know what I mean? Which is kind of what the book does. But it's a book versus a movie, you know? Yeah. Show don't tell. So.
Which is interesting because the book itself came out late 80s, 89 actually. So they would have a little bit of that 80s edgelord, like you said, but majority of the stuff came out in the 90s. So
yeah, but it very much keeps the 80s, I guess, of like we want to be darker and edgier. But it's like these really long, overly poetic, like it's written by a dude in high school who's just trying to be extra like, I'm dark and gothy and here's my poem because I think Edgar Allan Poe's the coolest fucking guy that ever existed. Like that vibe is like how this is written. If Shakespeare wore eyeliner.
Yeah, I mean, didn't he?
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Also, speaking of Edgar Allan Poe, we do get a quote in the movie, but he actually quotes it wrong.
Because he's a crow, not a raven.
A and B, copyright. Come on.
Yeah, I think
if you misquote something, you can get around copyrights. That's a real thing I've learned. Yeah,
you are correct.
Yep.
Fun little facts. So James O'Barr, the creator of The Crow, stated on the Crow DVD that when he met with the movie's executives, they originally wanted to make this a musical starring Michael Jackson. He immediately laughed uncontrollably, thinking it was a joke, only to find that they were quite serious. It was only until Brandon Lee and Alex Proyas came on board that the movie took a more serious role.
Wow.
Yeah, we could have almost had what's it? The
Rocky Horror Picture Show?
No, there was a actual thing that Michael Jackson did, the actual musical back in like the
Thriller?
No, it's a movie. No, well but
The Moonwalker or whatever the hell.
God, I can't remember.
That's a video game, The Moonwalker? Isn't he had a Michael Jackson video game called Moonwalker? That sounds awful. That sounds like that sounds like the worst thing they could have ever done.
Yeah, that would have been terrible.
They deserve to be left in their stupid faces. Yeah, I mean, talk about never reading the material. You know what I mean? Like, how do you even like thumb through the book and go, oh, this is clearly a musical that we need to have done by Michael Jackson. Clearly,
they wanted to have big, edgy musical
Captain
pieces.
EO.
Never heard of it.
It's Captain EO. That's what I was thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like a Star Wars-y thing with Michael Jackson, but it's all musical, and it's apparently really.
Is that where he's like the silver robot thing?
Something like that, yeah.
See, I thought that was just a music video. I didn't realize it was an actual film.
Well, I think of course, there's a music video along with it, but yeah, we also don't forget that Michael Jackson also wanted to be Spider-Man.
Yeah, so, he sure did.
He did. We about got that because he about bought the rights to Spider-Man.
So in this movie, one of my all-time sorry, Chuck. In this movie has one of my all-time favorite Jesus jokes. All right.
Oh boy.
So Jesus walked into a hotel, throws 3 nails on the counter, and asks the guy if he can put him up for the night.
Yeah.
Dude, that has had me rolling since I first saw this movie. And it is always right there in the front of my mind whenever somebody says Jesus' name.
That's pretty fun.
Love that for you.
I do want to ask, and I understand.
No, I don't believe in God.
Got kind of an answer toward the end of the movie. I knew that.
Okay.
But when Eric Draven wakes back up and he goes, like the crow leads him back to his apartment, it's been a year, and that apartment still had the tape on it and the window broken.
Oh,
like,
did you not know that was
not fix that?
They were the what's his face Top Dollar owned that building. That's why she got killed, because she was trying to fight from. That's why he sent those guys in there to take care of her.
But the heating bill that he has to pay now.
What? The heat wasn't still on. What are you talking about?
It's Detroit.
Good point.
It's like it's a Detroit police, man.
Again, I thought it was Chicago, so that's fair.
Yeah, but okay. Also, Chicago police.
Yeah,
don't let the media confuse you with police. Chicago PD.
Ernie Hudson's character, Albrecht, or whatever his name is, he kept getting demoted for doing his job.
That's because he was a good cop, and you can't have a good cop.
No, fair.
By the way, technically speaking, ACAB, therefore the Crow, technically a cop. He works with the cops. He works with a cop. But if we're going to hold Batman to the caliber of if you work with the cop...
Well, see, that's the thing. He didn't work with a cop. He worked with a cop that got suspended.
Doesn't... How is...
So he wasn't an official.
He didn't actually start, like...
They didn't work together until after he got suspended.
So now it's just only some cops are bastards?
All cops are still bastards.
Yeah, exactly. Even after.
I really thought he was on the take. I really thought that he was. I mean, he probably is, but like, I really thought that he was gonna have a bigger role. Similarly, I thought Top Dollar was gonna like come out to be that he was part of Draven's band and it was a whole thing that he was trying to kill him to get with Shelley, but it just like went sideways.
That's a really weird take.
I've never seen the movie. I was just
see what happened was
I know
he tried to help Tim Curry take over France, but that didn't work out, so he had to move to Detroit.
Correct. That's true.
In case you didn't get that one, Chuck, he was in Three Musketeers. He was Richelieu or whatever the fuck his name is.
Never saw that movie.
One of the other. Oh, it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a great one. The one from the 90s, 1993, I think is when it was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's got like Kiefer Sutherland and Charlie Sheen in it, and Oliver.
Chris O'Donnell, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris O'Donnell.
Oliver Newton? That's not right.
No, it's some. I don't remember.
Oh well.
I often confuse the Three Musketeers with the Man in the Iron Mask. Don't ask me.
I mean, that's a fair problem to have because
I think the Musketeers are part of that movie as well.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Remember correctly.
I think I may
Oliver
have
Platt.
There we go.
Of course he has it. Why wouldn't he have it?
Fuck yeah, dude! This is a great movie.
It's a good movie. That's
so I'll put it on the list right after Nightcrawler. Okay. Forgot I had to watch that. Shoot.
I
anyway,
was surprised to see Tony Todd in this movie. That was kind of fun.
I don't know who that is.
The Candyman.
Oh yeah. So, another person who I constantly see all the time. I go, oh, it's that guy. It's the Candyman guy. Yeah. Never knew his name. You
know, he's the Candyman. He's Death in the Final Destination movie. Dude's got that voice.
Is he actually Death in the Final Destination movies?
He is like
or he's just the guy who knows what's going on.
I always thought that he was supposed to be like the embodiment of death. Like he is death personified, which is why when he talks to him, he explains to him that death has a plan and all that shit.
Oh, I just always thought he was the guy who knew.
Could be. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, or like the voice, but does it? I don't know. That's a different podcast. Anyway, I always thought he was. I thought his whole thing was that he figured it out how to get around it, but like it was always after him. But
that's the thing. That's the whole point of Final Destination. There's no way to get around it, and that comes full circle.
I know
if you watch
they made like 17 of them. I'm aware. 5 of them. It never ends.
Did you say they made 5 of them?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought.
I've seen 2 of them.
The 3 and 4 are, I'm not gonna say are like wonderful, but they're literally just cashing in on let's kill people in the very whatever way. The fifth one was fun, and that ending was very like surprising.
The 5th one was the one that was like officially in 3D, yeah. Like they shot it.
No, that was 3D? That was the.
Was that?
I mean, maybe.
I don't know.
Because that would have came out in like 2011, so it would have been like
real 3D was really taking
kind of
off.
coming back out.
Yeah,
or maybe that was the 4th one. Was in 11. I don't remember.
So, I don't know. When this movie came out, was this before or after parkour was a big thing? Because I feel like it was before parkour was a big thing. But he does a lot of fucking parkour in this movie.
He does. He also does some fun dancing when the cops show up in the warehouse and he's like dances off. I was laughing at my ass off at that part.
I had forgotten that he was in a band and was really confused by the guitar solo at one point. I was like, why is he just like riffing on a guitar? And then I remember that it was the whole thing is he's a musician. That was confusing to me. I enjoyed it though.
That was fun.
I felt like there wasn't enough boobs. Like
I agree.
Yeah, I felt like I remember the first time I watched this, I was thinking that there was a lot of titty, and there wasn't.
Oh no, my thing was they could have just had more in it, but I feel that way about every movie. So I mean,
yeah,
you do have a boob count.
I do. True.
You also have the I objectify women ranking. So
actually, I don't do that. I did it one time for Chuck's sake, and it made me feel icky. So
it's
true. If I'm not making Ron feel icky, am I even really on the show? You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Either icky or sticky.
So I mean, I'll admit I don't have a lot of notes So I'm pulling a lot more from the IMDb because as I watched
So
the
one
show,
one
I
problem
really enjoyed this.
I thought it was pretty good. So my question here though is, did they have to seriously stick to the trope of the black guy dies first?
Yes,
Yeah,
it was the 90s. Yep, 100%.
Like I watched that and I'm like, because he
Okay.
at the same time, see, I figured the first person to die was going to be the little twitchy guy. I can't
Skank.
think what. Yeah, Skank.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
he would have been like the weakest link, and like you start there and then work your way through them.
Yeah,
But
they definitely reversed it in the book because the guy that is like shooting up with the woman, who's the
Fun Boy.
Yeah, Fun Boy.
The one that pulled the trigger that killed Brendan Lee.
really,
Is that when he does it?
Apparently, that's the scene. According to IMDb, that was the scene that they shot. That is what killed him. That he got shot in the stomach from that point.
Shit.
so it actually shot through his hand.
No, because he shot him a couple times.
Oh, that's right.
So
That's wild. That's really early in the movie too.
well, they don't film the stuff in order.
Yeah, it's all chopped up when they film it.
No, I know that, but like, I was always told that you could tell when it was and wasn't him. I couldn't tell.
According to IMDb, they did a really good job. Like they had stunt doubles in background. They had his face digitally imposed on the stunt double. They're actually here. Hold on. They actually had a list of scenes that was not him. Here we go. The following scenes were completed after Brandon Lee's death. Draven first enters the apartment after digging himself out of his grave. Footage of Lee walking through an alley in the rain was digitally composed into the scene where he walks through the doorway. Computer technology added drops of water to the door frame to make the water on his back not seem out of place. The shot of Draven falling from the window was made by digitally composing Lee's face, complete with simulated blood, onto a body double. The scene where Draven puts on his makeup was filmed using a double. The face in the smashed mirror was Lee's, computer altered to fit the shards. The image of Draven walking towards the window with the crow on his shoulder, which I thought was a really cool scene, was a double with Lee's face added during lightning flashes. Then when Sarah visits the apartment, we never see Draven's face as it is a double. So those, I guess, were the main. So they must have been like close to finishing the film. But those are the scenes specifically that they pointed
sounds like
out.
just like the little bitty like rando scenes that they
sounds like it probably wasn't an accident
like
that he got shot to death.
Well,
wasn't that the whole thing that there's a conspiracy that they thought they were actually trying to take him out or something like that? That's what I'd always heard. I always heard that there was a conspiracy. It's not on there? Interesting.
Not on IMDb.
Huh. Okay.
What is on IMDb though is fun little some scenes that were cut from the movie that kind of helped make sense. So while the movie's going on, they do make a point to say that the crow is his power. We kill the crow and he'll lose his power. And we see that toward the end of the film. Sort of. We also see, which I didn't know was one of his powers.
Yeah, don't they like curb stomp the crow?
They try to. They don't really. But they try to.
I had looked away because I was in the process of like putting something together.
Like they shot it.
They shot it, and then I look over and I thought he just like war stomped on it. I was like, "Oh shit, that's how they killed the crow." I don't remember doing that, so I laughed.
They don't actually kill the crow. So, okay. So this is a long little paragraph. So bear with me. Before Brendan Lee passed away, he had filmed multiple scenes that involved a character called the Skull Cowboy, who was to be played by Michael Berryman. The backstory for the cowboy was that he had a similar experience to Brendan's character, Eric Draven, at some point in time, but was stuck in the land of the living for all of eternity, or for at least the eternity of this film's events. Whether that means the cowboy was someone who failed to obtain his own revenge or was someone who failed to return to his grave after obtaining said revenge is unknown. But this plotline originally set him up as being a type of experienced guide for other souls to learn from so that they wouldn't end up being trapped in limbo like he is. For Eric Draven, the cowboy would often appear with warnings about the rules of revenge that needed to be followed if Eric wanted to reunite with his fiancée Shelley in the afterlife, where they could ultimately rest in peace together. As such, in various deleted scenes, the cowboy would repeatedly explain that if Eric did anything not related to seeking revenge against his killers, that he would lose his powers and risk being stuck in the land of the living as well. The first omitted scenes that illustrated Eric being punished for not adhering to this rule happened after he used his special abilities to remove morphine from a woman's vein. Since this was a selfless act to sober her up for the sake of her daughter, a young girl named Sarah, who Shelley used to take care of, this moment then originally led to Eric temporarily losing his healing abilities as he was simultaneously attacked from behind by an enemy he thought to be unconscious. You can still see the aftermath of this narrative being unchanged throughout the rest of the film, as Eric suddenly has black electrical tape wrapped around his arms and upper body, which is used in place of bandages to cover up all of the deep cuts he had suffered. See, and I actually had questioned that because he didn't have that before.
Yeah.
Why does he have it all now? And so, individually, each deleted scene that included the Skull Cowboy originally provided information of a weakness for Eric to be aware of instead of him truly being invincible. Yet, it's the culmination of all these cowboy moments that create a different narrative that would have clearly explained Eric's vulnerabilities at the end of the film. After all of his immediate killers were disposed of, Eric would be lured into a trap by the evil gang leader, Top Dollar, who had kidnapped Sarah into a church building in the hopes of eliminating Eric before he could return to his grave. This then originally led to a final deleted scene where the Skull Cowboy would appear one last time to plea for Eric to not concern himself with matters of the living now that his tasks of revenge were completed, regardless of the girl being in danger. But Eric would have ignored him and defiantly entered the church building knowing that he was no longer invincible. And like before with the aforementioned morphine moment, you can see remnants of his original narrative being unchanged as Eric attempts to intimidate those remaining villains to give up the girl and walk away instead of him outright harming or killing them. So while there weren't many edits made to the last confrontation as it happened in the final cut of the film, the actual original explanation of Eric's powers inexplicably returning to him was in the ending rooftop scene where Top Dollar revealed how it was ultimately based on his orders that Eric and Shelley be haphazardly murdered, which in turn positioned him as being another one of their killers that needed revenge exacted upon. The decision to remove the entire Skull Cowboy plotline was a simpler idea that Eric's strength was depleted on the health of his companion Crow was ultimately decided upon by the production staff after they all had agreed that the overall look of the cowboy wasn't fitting in the rest of the film. In his Blu-ray commentary, director Alex Proyas stated that this storyline was cut out before Brandon passed away, while write-ups from behind-the-scenes production books have stated it was entirely removed after Brandon's tragic accident happened. I think if they had kept that in there, I would have liked it a lot more because it actually would have given stakes to his revenge plot, his revenge story. Which makes me wonder with this new movie if it'll be in there. Because I think the reboot is going to be very similar story for what this is. At least the trailer makes it that way.
Well, that'll be interesting.
He's in the book. So.
Skull Cowboy is?
Yeah.
Okay.
He doesn't play as big of a... He doesn't pop up or play a big of a role as the book is, or as that you just read. would make it sound. But yeah, he's in it for like a quick second.
Okay. Interesting. I don't know.
I didn't like the concept of like, which is weird because well documented on the show. I hate characters who can't die. Like that inevitably makes it a really boring character for me. But I like the idea. Is like, okay, this dude's invincible until you kill the thing that gives him his power, which is I think that's the only like exception to the rule, because it does essentially then make him.
It makes him vulnerable.
Right, it makes him vulnerable in a different way, and it makes a interesting like, okay, we need to figure out what the thing is that will kill him. So,
well, and that's like I said, the scene with the morphine when he was, being able to be hurt. He does get shot, and when he jumps out the window, and Albrecht grabs him, and they rush off. You see. Like he had been shot, he had been hurting. Once they get away and Albrecht stops because cops are running around, and we see on the seat all that blood, like it just kind of makes sense that
he had lost his powers at some point in time.
He was losing his powers, and at that point, the Crow had not been armed. The Crow was nowhere. So toward the end of the movie, the Crow being shot and him losing his abilities, I mean, for what they were trying to do, makes sense. But because they had that stuff in the beginning, and when that first scene happened, I was confused. I'm like, how are you hurt? Why are you like bleeding? Like, that's weird.
Yeah.
But
I also think that's an interesting defect for a power, is like the more that you use your power to help somebody else, it makes you weaker. I think it's like a really cool power dynamic.
I like that. Yeah, no, I do like that.
Yeah, that's cool. I just wish they would have explained that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
100%. That would have been great. Yeah.
And they could have like set it up even where it was like, I don't know, you could cut out the whole Skull Cowboy altogether and just had it like the Crow is squawking at him and he's like translating or something. Yeah.
What's up, boy? You say I'm vulnerable if I do things that go against my revenge.
Or like maybe
he has this like internal monologue, so
that's
like we have like the narrator voice. So
at the very beginning,
that's the little girl.
But like there could have been maybe a book. Like Sarah's like, oh, because they even mentioned, they say that a crow will take your soul to heaven or hell, or whatever, but it can also bring it back. And this is something that happens because if the soul needs to take revenge on something, like could have been her reading a passage out of some book, and that's where you get your explanation. Like, okay, fine, then we got our explanation. I would have been okay with that.
You could have 100% set this up like it was the narrator telling us the story. Yeah, like just had the narrator like even in like the different scenes, like it, almost setting the scene up to then watch it play out. I think you could have literally covered all the same bases and cut the stuff out and just added those paragraph or two in each scene. Yeah. It would have made a much more interesting story. Not that this was bad.
I mean, yeah, sure. It was pretty fun story.
It was perfectly fine. It was a perfectly fine movie.
For a 90s adaptation. And I agree, like for 1994, this movie would have been amazing in 94. We didn't watch it in 94. We watched it now. Or as Ron watched it 2 decades ago. But
did it blow your mind, Ron, when you first watched it?
I liked it. I thought it was really good when I first watched it. Like it was entertaining, and it was like there was enough of a story to make it a good watch. And I liked some of the aspects of like I like when he's like when he kills Fun Boy and he gets shot through the hand and he's like like and shit like that. Like the way that he plays up using his powers sometimes just fucking cracked me up.
Yeah. You can definitely. Is it weird that you can kind of see the Ledger like Joker in it? Like
I mean, yeah, you totally.
Yeah, that
it was kind of weird. I was like rewatching. I was like, oh, Ledger definitely probably watched this for like.
He might have got some
a little bit. You know what I really see? Fans that think they're Joker being this guy. You know what I mean? Like
yes,
like that era is like, oh no, you guys aren't Ledger. You're Brandon Lee. That's who you are. Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense.
And then Chuck shot him in the chest. Oh,
Don't
shit.
make me catch you in the streets.
So when Top Dollar calls the meeting together to have all those guys there to protect Skank and kill the Crow, right? They're sitting at this table with like all these drugs and all this money and shit just sitting on this table. And then their guns are just like sitting there without the bullets in them and shit, right? They've got like the clips sitting outside of them. They're just sitting on top of this table.
Well, right? Yeah, because their bodyguards are all around them in the background.
This was not a group of people that were ready to try to kill something that is quasi-immortal. This is a group of guys that were hoping to take the money and the drugs and get the fuck out of there before they had to do anything.
Technically, all he wanted was Skank.
Yeah.
If Top Dollar had given him Skank and then walked off, they would not have a problem.
I know it.
But then we would have missed. Then we would have missed the scene where he is underneath the table and just like pulls that guy. I love that in movies, like when somebody gets their legs pulled out from underneath them and then dragged into somewhere and like just killed or whatever. You know, that shit cracks me up every time.
Funny enough, that guy was one of the writers, and
he liked it too.
We see the writer, the actual writer, James O'Barr. He was one of the guys stealing a TV from Gideon's shop after it got blown up.
Oh, speaking of Gideon, like, why was that dude so aggressively gay?
Because he was really mad at the Rocketeer because he kept not showing up.
Every time something bad happened to him, he would look at the closest guy to him and just be like, "Fuck me." It's just like, dude, relax. Like, at least talk the consent thing through before you just start throwing shit out like that.
Well, he's giving consent. He's asking them to fuck him, right?
Oh no, he's telling them. He's not even asking. He is straight up telling them, and that's where the problems arise.
Okay. All right.
T-Bird finally got fired up, so there's that.
What was with that stupid chant?
I think it was because they were the guys that lit the town on fire. Like they were the guys.
Yes, but like the chant and then
they're getting themselves fired
that was
up.
So stupid.
Well, yeah. What did you expect from a bunch of fucking meth heads and shit? Like,
yeah, well, I don't know.
Devil's Night. Y'all ever do Devil's Night? Were you Devil's Night kids?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, neither was I.
Dude, I wasn't even a Halloween kid. My parents wouldn't let me go trick or treating.
Oh, I was definitely a Halloween kid.
I was a Halloween kid. I had to go. I was allowed to do Halloween as long as I went to the church thing the weekend before. Like Halloween, they would always do like
get your sin cleaned.
Oh,
like a trunk or treat kind of a thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was like a youth group. It was like a youth group thing that was supposed to be Halloween, but you dressed up as like Bible characters, and it was like a Halloween party. And
I would have gotten in so much trouble for that.
Yeah, well, I went as Armageddon one time, and nobody thought it was as good as I did. So that was really clever.
Fun.
Yeah, that was.
So, anyways, I went as Jesus. I took 3 nails with me.
Ask people if they could put you up for the night.
Oh shit!
I did kind of laugh, or not chuckle, but I kind of got a kick out of when he put the gasoline in the shape of a crow and then lit.
Dude, that was badass.
That is our 4th one we've seen because we had
Daredevil. We had the Punisher.
It's the 5th one. V in V for Vendetta.
Yep.
And we haven't seen Dark Knight Rises yet, so there's our 4th one.
Yeah, that's our 4th one.
So there's 2 more. We got 2 more to go to.
So at the end of the movie, when they've got all the cops everywhere, and Ernie Hudson's like, "There's so many cops here, you'd think we were giving away donuts." That made me chuckle too. That was good.
I like Ernie Hudson. He's great.
So I watched this with Simon, and I'm like, "Hey, does he look familiar?" And Simon's like, "No." And I'm like, "Really? He doesn't look familiar." And Simon's like, "Why would he look familiar?" I'm like, "Dude, Ghostbusters, come on, man!" Like, And Simon's like, "Oh, I don't remember."
Oh, your son is a disappointment.
Sometimes.
I just don't really like Ghostbusters.
How do you kick Chuck out of this?
Like it's a perfectly fine movie. It's a perfectly fine movie.
I enjoy the newest two more than I enjoy the originals, if I'm being honest.
I haven't even seen the newest two yet. The last one I saw was the gender bent one.
Yeah, that one was fine.
It wasn't terrible. I feel like they overdid it on some of like the stupidity in it, though.
Well, yeah,
sure.
Like, and I hate that. So there are certain times and places for that kind of humor, and a lot of that shit in that movie killed it for me because it just wasn't. I don't know. It just didn't.
They overdid it. They were the SNL. They were the new SNL group trying to be like, "Hey, we're funny too. Let's do this." They overdid it.
My issue is like they did a great job doing a bunch of cameo stuff with the original cast, and then they paid a lot of money to Bill Murray for him to come in, and then he was just like, "Oh, I hated it. I didn't want to be there." Blah blah blah. It's like, then you shouldn't have you don't need the fucking money, douche. Anyway, Bill Murray's a horrible man.
He didn't want the money. He wanted the legacy. Okay.
That's really
apparently. But to then shit on it, like, I don't know. Anyway, it wasn't a bad movie. He's dating Khalees, the milkshake girl. The girl who wrote Milkshake.
My milkshake brings all the boys.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Oh,
explain that one. That was Nas's wife.
Money. That's what.
Explain it to me. Explain how you date Nas. You're married to Nas, arguably one of the greatest hip hop artists of all time, and then you go to Bill Murray. Make that make sense, Ron. Make it make sense in my head.
His wallet was bigger than Nas's dick.
I don't think that's it. I think she just likes funny old white guys.
I mean, that could be too.
You know?
Maybe she's got a degradation kink, because I feel like Bill Murray would be racist.
Oh, I'm guaranteed.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Realistically speaking, who is the grossest celebrity? Ron specifically, because Joe, I know you have standards. Would you be willing to like have a committed relationship with? Like, well, what is your line? Like, if it's a scale of like most money to grossest, like
that's the thing. Like, I won't date gross people. I won't. I have the standard of I have to actually like you as a person, or I won't.
Yeah, but you don't ever have to work, and you could just do your art because you are their sugar baby.
See, Chuck, here's the problem. Like, as much as that would be great,
I got screamed at in a chat because I was just trying to defend AI art, and you're telling me it's stopping you from. I'm literally giving you the out to be able to be the artist that you want to be. I just want to know how gross of an uggo you're willing to bang to do it. I don't think I'm asking a lot here, Rob.
Listen, Chuck.
Okay, Jamie Lee Curtis.
I mean, whoa. First off, Jamie Lee Curtis was banging hot. I don't know what she looks like now, but like I could close my eyes and picture 1980s.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis and still bang Jamie Lee Curtis. I would happily.
Hold on. You could go bang Madonna because all of her parts are younger than you.
No, see, that would make me uncomfortable because some of them are under 25.
Good point.
That's gross.
Let's move on from this, okay?
Anyway, how did we get here?
I don't know. Rob,
very specifically.
You got any more?
Somebody brought up Ghostbusters. It's not how we got
okay. So when he dives in between the pews in the church, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it was so comical when I watched it. Like, I laughed out loud because he's just like,
"Woo, woo." Yeah. Well, I mean, he's, trying not to.
There was a lot of straight up slapstick shit that happened in this movie that I'm not entirely certain was
dancing off from the
cops. Exactly.
I love that. Was just out of nowhere, and his face was just wonderful.
And I think without those parts, I don't think the movie would have been as good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not the tone of the book either. There's like no comedy in the book,
or like when
it's like sad, tragic, haha comedy.
When Skank is describing what happened to T-Bird, and Top Dollar's like, "Oh, go ahead and videotape this and then play it back in slow-mo."
Basically,
just like
the Dick Tracy thing with the polar bear.
yeah.
With Mumbles.
Yeah. Also, fucking the Crow is a terrible shot, and their guns have the infinite ammo cheat unlocked because he has that fucking a 6-shooter that he shoots like 45 times before it clicks finally.
I had said the same thing. I was like, oh, I guess we have fucking infinite ammo code punch into this fucking thing.
I mean, why not? Right?
It's weird. Why specifically in the 90s were they like really adamant about like we don't care about realism when it comes to guns. You can just keep shooting even though you should have that much ammo.
I don't know.
That's a great question.
Definitely like 2000s we were, and I think it was I'll say this. I think it was Matrix. I think Matrix being the movie it was, and him like Neo, Keanu Reeves, shooting all the guns, and there was like a couple times where he would pull the trigger and they would run out, and if you had actually counted, it was the proper amount. Like they were being.
Tell us you're autistic without telling us you're autistic.
Well, that too.
Well, yeah.
Did you hear that? He fired exactly 47 shots out of those 3 guns.
Just saying. I mean,
that would make a lot more sense actually for Matrix. I mean, with all the bullet time, think if they had unlimited ammo, how long that would have taken. Because you got a bullet time around every.
But I'm pretty sure the suits did have unlimited ammo.
Yeah,
every time they jumped into somebody else, they had a brand new gun.
Yeah, well, they didn't have to worry about it because they were part of the Matrix, so they could rewrite the code to get them to do that.
Yeah, good point.
When you have all the cheat codes, dude, like
yeah,
that's true. It's actually written on the back of the instruction manual that they rented from the local video store. So,
it's IDDQD. It's God mode.
That tracks.
Very specifically, that was the old code for Doom. If you typed in IDDQD, it would give you God mode. IDKFA gave you all the items, and ID SPI SPOPD let you no clipping. You can walk through walls and shit.
Wow!
I haven't played that game for almost 30 years.
But you still remember. Proud of you, buddy. Good job.
Hey, up here, man, it's all in there. It's just jumbled up a little bit.
A lot of concussions ago.
So, kill count, Joey.
Yes, kill count. I got a total of 35.
Damn,
that's it.
What?
The fucking literal rebirth of vengeance, and didn't kill as many as Batman did.
Well, he only had to kill 5 people, and the most of it was like 22 at that warehouse.
To be fair. It's the rebirth of vengeance. He has to be a lot more particular. When you are just vengeance, you can just do whatever the fuck you want. That's how it works.
Sure. So, Ron, do you want to do boob count first? Or do you want to do bingo?
I'll do the bingo. I'll let Chuck do the spawn cape, and then I'll do the boob count.
Okay. It's been a while since we had boobs in the movie, so I can't remember the order.
I'm pretty sure that's the order it goes in.
Okay.
So you had product placement, hero kills, comic logic, hero designs. I had considered hero designing costume with him doing his makeup.
I mean, the Crow designed his costumes. Like, here's boots.
That's
here's
true.
Jacket.
ID
makeup, yeah.
ID reveal to friend and an ID reveal to enemies. Also an origin reveal. We have animal cruelty, villain monologue, sexual innuendo, and nudity.
All right. 11. Nice. Chuck? Spawn cape?
I thought the majority of this was practical effects. And the stuff that was CG was not noticeable to me that it was bad necessarily. I don't know what technology they were rocking in the 90s where they were able to like digitally imprint his face onto other people to the point where I couldn't notice the difference. But what the fuck?
But Disney
can we get that technology now?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Disney needs to fucking figure that shit out. I'm gonna say 1 out of 146,000.
Okay.
It looked really good. I think it was fine. I think it was
again, like I
think
said
it was
earlier,
perfectly fine.
like I said earlier, the only thing I noticed was the crow at times. Everything else was really good.
And that was such a small detail that I didn't even pick it up.
Correct,
I would
yeah.
never have noticed it if you didn't point it out. So.
Same.
Ron, boob count.
We had 2.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's good.
Just
That's good.
what's his face's sister that he was making out with when she was in the shower. Like she turns and you see them both, and that's it.
Was that his sister?
It was his.
It was his
dad's daughter, or his
which would
father's
make it
daughter.
his half sister or
Yeah.
sister. So yes, it was his sister. They shared blood, and that's all that matters.
I thought we saw
It's
the
weird.
one woman on the bed, like when they turned her over.
I don't think so.
Yeah, Ryan never misses a boob, Joe. Come on.
Well, so I also watched X today, and there was a lot of boobs in that. So
Oh, that's a good fucking movie.
it was really good. I'm
Really
watching.
good.
I'm gonna watch Pearl next because I'm gonna go see Maxine in theaters.
That's a good idea. X is like there's this
Kyle
trilogy
West movie. It's
by
got Mia
24.
Goth.
You would like it, Ron. You should watch it. You actually would really like it.
It's
I'll have to
definitely
write that
it's
down.
a horror slasher.
Yeah.
And what'd you say it was called? X Pearl?
X.
X
So
is the first movie.
It's the X film franchise or
Okay.
X film trilogy. X is the first one. Pearl is the prequel sequel because it takes place before X, and then Maxine is in theaters right now, and it's the,
I've seen trailers for that.
yeah, it's the direct sequel to X.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Very
Very excited.
All right, so Chuck.
Yeah.
With the score out of 10, what do you give this?
All right, is this a Crow movie? Sure. It's. I mean, you're
the only one that's read the comic out of the three of us?
It's not. It's not bad. Like they did it. They kept enough of the elements to pay good respects to the original book. The original book. I had the book right here because I couldn't remember if the cowboy was actually in it or not when you were talking about it, so I had to go back and flip through. I don't think it really captures the magic because they really made this is not really an action movie. Like the book itself is not an action movie. The movie is an action movie. And I think that I think the fight scenes are dope. They actually are pretty dope. They're pretty good fight scenes. And I think that it was decent, but I really missed the like kind of them building his relationship better. Like they in the book they do a really good job of like making you understand the sadness and despair that he feels that this has happened not only to him but to the woman that he loved and that he was going to marry. And I just don't feel like this movie really captured that. This is in fact a perfectly fine movie. It's not bad. I get why people like it. I don't think it lives up to the hype that people give it. I don't think that it's nearly good. And I don't think that you could show this in 2024 to the same. I don't think I could show this to like a teenager now and it's going to hit the same way that it did for when this movie came out or when Ron saw it, like that, that era, right?
Yeah.
I am excited about the new one coming out because I am curious to see if it's going to be a retelling in 2024 and how it hits differently.
The new one definitely looks like they're attaching the love story more. Like they're focusing in on that.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 4.7. I'm going to be nice.
That's you being nice?
4.7. Yeah, if 5 is average and if it's a perfectly fine movie.
Okay.
4.7.
Okay. Ron?
So I like this movie. I liked it the first time I watched it. I've liked it every time I've seen it. I do quotes from this movie fairly often. Like the "it can't rain all the time" thing, and shit like that. Just little shit. It's fun. It's got a decent enough storyline to keep me interested. The movie keeps me interested in it, so there's that too. I gave it a 7.86.
Okay.
What about you, Joey?
I said earlier, I really like this movie. I do agree with Chuck about the whole point of this movie is he's coming back for revenge, but we don't really see the love story. We don't really see why he is brought back for the revenge. Like that motivation is not there, and that, in my eyes, kind of hurts it a little bit.
I mean, that's fair. It was
great.
just broken like memories and stuff.
Sure, like
right.
But and I did really think it was kind of cool because I guess this was part of his ability, his powers. At the end, when he shows the hurt and the pain that he saw,
there's like the cold engine stare kind of thing.
Yeah. He gives it the top dollar, and that is what kind of ends him. Like I thought that was really cool. Loved Ernie Hudson. Tony Todd was a nice surprise. I really thought Brandon Lee did a really wonderful job as the titular character. Story itself, similar with not having the love story attached to it, and them taking out all the stuff with Skull Cowboy, which I think would have been a lot more interesting. Understandably, I understand why they took it out, but because they did and they didn't change things in the movie, I had questions like the electrical tape and how, if the bird is what was his power and he got injured at the end, why did he get injured in the middle? That being said, though, really did enjoy this movie. I gave it a 7.12.
Okay.
And so with that, it gives us a combined score of 6.56, which drops it in at number 36, just behind TMNT from 2007 and just above Superman 2, the theatrical cut.
That I feel is probably a little lower than it deserved, but again, this doesn't really hit for me like it probably should. Which sucks because I think I would again, this gave me Crow Sting, so like this should realistically be really cool to me because Crow Sting was like the coolest thing when I was a kid. And Joey actually makes a really good point of what I think my gripe was, which is when they had the opportunity to show bits and flashbacks of like his relationship, they instead show the night over and over and over again. They show different aspects of the night. So the story that they're telling is he's exacting revenge for that night, not for the love that he had for the woman, which is what the book does really well. The book almost doesn't really even resort back because the whole like first chapter is the night. So, and then him like coming up out. So like you get that whole story in the beginning of the book. And I think maybe that's where the disconnect is. So, because when he confronts every one of the people that were involved in it, he tells a story of like what he loved to the woman, what they did to him and to her, and what they destroyed in that way. Yeah, that's it.
Interesting.
It's a decent book. It's dense. It's dense, but it's good. If you like reading words, it's good.
Word.
It's better than The Mask.
I mean, I don't mind reading word comics sometimes. But like, I read the comic because it's supposed to have pictures. So I like pictures.
Yeah, I mean, there's like parts. It comes and goes. It'll be like two pages where it's just a bunch of text, and then it'll be like 3 pages where it's him just walking through a street, and it's different shots of him walking through a street. It's like 2 pages of it. It's weird. Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, awesome. Chuck,
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you when I'm done with it. I got like the tiniest little bit. What? Isn't that what you're supposed to do when you finish a book? You're supposed to send it to somebody so they can read it? Is that not a thing?
Are you? Because
I usually just keep mine on a shelf until I want to read it again.
So here's the thing. I don't ever go back and reread movies. Like I rarely go back and rewatch movies. That's why digital is so good for me, because I don't care about the physical copy after I watched it the first time.
That's fair.
Yeah. So
I've got like so many shelves over here. You used to see my behind me.
That's
like
true. That's true.
Of course, I collect books.
That makes sense. Anyway, you can find me on. First off, you know where you can find me? Let me tell you. Patreon.com/professional casual. Hit that 301 tier. That directly checks your ass into helping this show. So do that. Head over there, patreon.com/professional casual. 301 tier. Fuck your $1. I don't even think there's $1 left anymore. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Do they have a limited amount of those?
Yeah, he only made 20 of them originally because he didn't want everybody to sign up with the $1 tier.
Wow.
Yeah, he made 20. It was I still have one. That's my one access. So I can have access to the Discord, because if I drop it, he will automatically just boot me from the Discord. So yeah. Anyway, so do that, please. Also, head over if you're watching on YouTube, or head over to YouTube and leave a like, a comment, a subscribe. Hit that gosh darn bell for notifications. And you can find me at Kicked Out of the Hood, No Being Kicked. You can find my hobby page, Kicked Out of the Hobby, No Being Kicked. I'm currently gearing up to play a game of Blood and Plunder. So I'm painting up pirates. Been watching a lot of
pirate ship. That was pretty cool looking.
Yeah, my uncle fucking broke the shit out of that and I had to repair it again. If that thing fucking makes it to a game, it's going to be a miracle, because it didn't go together correctly either. Ooh. Hey, Firelock Games, make better instructions. Thank you. Ron, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Good at This Game. You can find my art on Instagram at Good Art This Game. And you can find me everywhere where this wonderful show is shown or heard. Joey, where can they find you?
You guys can find the show over on Instagram and Threads at Comic Book Rundown. You can email us, comicbookrundown@gmail.com. Rate and review us on your podcasting app of choice. If you do, we'll read it on an upcoming episode. We've got merch over on Redbubble and TeePublic, and our song was done by Cam. Our next movie.
Yeah.
So like I said earlier, redid the list. We are going to be backtracking a little bit.
I'm a little excited now.
And we are going to be watching Alien from 1979.
Ooh. Ron, get that boob count ready. Ooh, how does that work if we see the same pair of boobs? Is it
just one set?
It's one set? Okay, yeah. I want to sure. It's the Alderaan rule for boobs? Okay.
100%.
Sure.
Because when we watched Toxic Avenger, when he goes to Japan and that chick's just running around naked the whole time. Our boob count would have been off the fucking hook if I counted every time she showed up with her tits out.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. Good point. Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure.
We try to keep it classy here, Chuck.
Yeah, that's true. Are we gonna get a cooter count too? Because doesn't she like wear underwear the majority of the time in this movie? You did it for Resident Evil. That's why I'm asking.
Did he?
I did it for what?
You did it for Resident Evil.
No, I think we were telling you about that.
Oh, we were just talking about her beaver shot on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was so out of place that you just didn't expect it until she falls off the table and bam, there it is.
Yeah. Cool.
Anywho.
So, all right, everybody. Thank you all for listening. We'll
Bye.
catch you next time.
Yeah, Scooby.
You okay there, Chuck?
Is he having a stroke?
I think so.
Yeah.